My name's Stephen Moore. I work for a company called Resul, and today I was going to do a presentation on the standardization of rack to busbar interface. So a little bit about this specification. This was been submitted to the OCP community. It's actually now been accepted. So hopefully to help suppliers and also people that want to build racks, make it easier for everyone, people will use this specification. Just a little note here, you can see there's a part here that's hanging down from the top of the frame. I'll explain in a little bit more detail later in the presentation, but that's a tool which is used to jig the busbar in the correct dimension. Okay, so the problem we were facing before the specification was released is even though the specification of the OCP specified how the silver content should be and the copper thickness and the voltage and the power requirements, there wasn't anything in there for the actual mating of the busbar cage to the frames. The problem with this was whoever you would speak to from the busbar supplier industry, you'd have to almost make a new OEM interface from customer to customer. Also, with the different in-customer requirements based on the position of the power shelves and also power requirements, you were finding you were producing lots of different busbars all of the time, and it was wasting a lot of time and money. So the solution, we thought we would design a busbar specification which everyone can adhere to. This would help suppliers compete with each other and also help vendors to identify they're getting the correct, exactly what they need for the solution they need. So this is the code that we've created, a standard code, which would help everyone reference exactly what they need for the customer. I'll just talk you through this. So at the beginning, we've got a couple constants there, B for, I think, busbar. Then you've got F or H, so either a full height busbar or a half height busbar in the rack. Next, you have the next constant, which is OCP. After that, you have the number 12, as you can see there, which is the voltage rating of the busbar. After that, we've got the 3A's, as you can see there, which is for the power rating of the zone, of each zone. So for example, Facebook, 6.2 kilowatts and stuff like that. 3A's as we're getting up now to the hundreds in the power, as we've been talking about. Next is the distance between the rack interfaces. So that's in millimeters. So right now, 2028 millimeters, whatever it is for Facebook. Next, we have the busbar support brace position. So right now, you can either have one or two based on the weight of the busbar. So the first numbers, say 09, would be position OU 9 OU, and if there was two, you'd have 09 18, and then they'd be in those positions. Next, you have the DD, which is the rack brace height. So where the brace actually is, you would actually have a gap between the OUs, or else equipment wouldn't be able to slide in that position. After that, we have the constant PS for power shelf position, and then EE and FF for the positions of those power shelves. So in the OU positions, so 09 would be position 9 of OU, and then FF would be 28, or whatever that would be. So next, I've got an example of that serial number in practice, which is actually the Facebook busbar information. So there, as you can see, the millimeters was 2059. The position of the brace was 19, and then 28 millimeters was that brace height, and then the position of the power shelves, 09 and 28 OU. Below, just as you can, a note there to say this is an orderable SKU from Resul now with a 7-digit part number. So just some information about the thinking of how we created and standardized the interface at the busbar positions. So this is at the bottom of the rack. As you can see, the two slot piercings at the base of the rack. This is where the bottom of the busbar cage will interface. The actual dimension is driven from the datum X, which is at the back of that piercing. The fixing, the holes you can see here in this base tray are so you're able to getting access and fix the busbar to the base of the rack there. The thinking of putting the piercing on the inside, not on the outside edge of the base tray, is to reduce the variance you can see in the folding. So it's just pierce to pierce, which is the most accurate way that we can drive the dimension of the busbar position. Next, you've got the bottom of the cage of the busbar. As you can see, the fixing points are actually on a folded flange there, but that is not what is driving the dimension of the busbar in the rack. what actually drives the dimension of the buzz bar is that front leading edge of the buzz bar cage, which butts up against those piercings I just talked about. So that prevents the variance there. At the top of the rack, as you can see here, we have like an open slot with the hole fixing holes. So this doesn't drive the dimension of the buzz bar cage at all. So at this point, we want the jigs, which I showed you that small jig in the very beginning. That's a tool that can be used for retrofitting in the field, a very simple tool. In production at our factory, we would use a bigger jig, which would sit inside the frame at the shelf level, and that would make sure that we get that correct dimension of the buzz bar cage for equipment engagement. So as you can see, the top of the buzz bar cage here, we have ob-round holes, slots to allow that adjustment for the jig, so then you get the correct position for equipment engagement. And then finally, how it helps the OCP community. So standard interface across all supply, helps with suppliers and vendors. Ability to consistently meet OCP specification for companies to make sure that they're allowing the equipment to interface properly and correctly into the cage. Specifications submitted, it's been shared and accepted now, and then impact the open supply chain. Finally, a call to action to let's make things easier for everyone by adopting this simple and effective design solution. Any questions? No? Go on.
When you were describing the yeah, thanks. When you're describing the part number that talks about the location of where the power shelf is,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, maybe I just didn't catch it in the specification, but is it defined where one starts? Is it at the bottom, at the top?
Yes,
It's at the bottom, right?
So it's bottom up.
Is there anywhere in the specification that actually shows that, or is that just something we all kind of understand? And
is it part of the OCP spec? Yeah, it's part of.
It's not an LCP spec. It's in your.
It's in our specification. Ah, okay, yeah. Yes, so actually it isn't captured on this slide, but there's a document, which is a specification document. In that document, it will specify this is counted from the down up.
Got it.
Bottom
Okay.
up, sorry, yeah.
All right. Thanks.
I'll get it, okay, that's fine.
This is just a
Thank you.
overview of what's in there. Right? It's
Yeah.
like a 18-page specification that has all the detail on it.
That's available online from the OCP website.
Yep.
Hi, do you have any standardization of the interface between the bus bar and the power shelves and possibly the batteries? Reason I ask is that last year we mounted a light on bus bar and power shelf and battery shelf into a Resul rack, and we had to do some drilling to and some extensions to get this bus bar to fit, and there are like preset holes in the bus bar for screwing on the power shelf. So you can't just plug it in anywhere. You have to screw it onto the bus bar. And when we did that, it ended up being like half a U off from the use, so that above and below the power shelf there's just some empty space that we cannot fill with anything. So we sort of consume a U. Just because of that skew. So
Yeah.
is that something that will get better with this? Have you thought about it?
We've had some problems with customers from that's the idea where they've been putting U power equipment and things in there. So was the power equipment you were using OU equipment or?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so did you order the buzz bars specifically for the position you needed, or you had to modify for your needs at your site? You had to drill.
Yeah, we had to do some drilling to fix the bus bar to the rack.
Right.
So if we had used the Resul bus bar, that would have fitted in the Resul rack, of course, but we wouldn't be able to fit the light on power shelf to that bus bar because the holes didn't
line
match
up. So did you have a 1OU shelf? Because I know there would have been a 3OU shelf in that position in the Resul rack. Did you change the shelves to adjust for the power shelf you needed? And then...
what do you mean change the shelves?
So you should have been able to line up the position of the PEM nuts in the buzz bar with the correct shelf if you had the buzz bar in the correct position. But I suppose if you've adjusted the buzz bar position in the frame, you are going to get misalignment if it's not sitting within an OU.
Yes. So there was some flexibility in at the back of the power shelf.
Mhm.
You have these metal things that you attach to the bus bar, and
Yeah.
they can adjust a little. And
Okay.
we couldn't have them flat; they were sort of pointing up or down. I don't remember exactly right now.
Okay.
So, so it was either fixating the bus bar to the bottom of the rack and just extending at the top, or fitting it at the top and then have to do some more adjustments at the bottom. So either way, it didn't really fit well. So I'm really happy this is happening. But I'm also wondering if there's interoperability between the
Yes,
different
that right,
producers and suppliers of power shelves and bus bars.
So the answer to that is in the specification for the rack, there is requirements on where those holes are in the bus bar relative to the rack. So that controls the center for both the power shelf providers and the rack producers. So there should be interoperability between OCP power shelf providers. You should be able to take one out and put the other one in. In your particular case, maybe your bus bar was shifted up or down since you're installing it. That may have been the problem that you had. But yeah, there is standardization in the specification. So you should be able to pull one out and put the other one in. I think the only problems we've got right now is if you've got a 1U shelf, the hole's a little not really aligned very well for a 1U shelf. Anything bigger than that, it works fine. So we're in the process right now of making that tweak.
This last year we could not use the light on the power shelf.
Okay. Yeah. All I can tell you is there's dimensions in the spec for both the rack. It'll tell you exactly how far away it's supposed to be from the U position, so you could measure and figure out which one is not complying and giving you that problem. But
So you spoke about retrofitting
Yeah.
bus bars
Mhm.
within the rack.
Yeah.
Is guidelines in the specification on how to do that?
Yes, so in the specification there's an explanation on how to use the tool.
Yeah.
It's quite simple. If I just actually go back to the image.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So this actually is floating. The way it is actually used is you bolt this with this plunger here onto the side of the bus bar, and then you can't really see it, but if you can see this hole here in the top of the frame, there's actually that is how you're supposed to line this sheet metal part up with this hole at the top of the frame, and that will drive the correct dimension of the bus bar. So once it's in line, you fix the bus bar, and then that makes sure that your bus bar is in dimension.
Does your rack downstairs have that?
No, we don't actually have the tool here. Yeah, unfortunately. Maybe at the next show we'll bring it to demonstrate. Yeah, but yes, it's quite a small, useful retrofitting kit.
Sorry, just to finish up, I'd like to also understand, is the specification guidelines within power requirements of that bus bar? Obviously, there's standard specifications for power and voltage. Is there any guidelines in and around that to when you do retrofit?
This specification is just on identifying what the customer and supplier would want or need.
Yep.
It's not so much guidelines around what you can and can't do with power-wise.
Yep.
That would have to be defined or...
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
no problem. Thank you.
No worries. Anyone else?
all right.
Okay, thanks
Thanks,
everyone.
Stephen.
Thank you.